Okay, friends and neighbors, it's DK and Mr. V Amps, and this is something I haven't done in a long time. Not that I haven't been buying at auctions in a long time, I just haven't bothered to show you, because most of the time, whatever we're getting is kind of something pedestrian that everybody's seen 100,000 demos of on YouTube, and all I'm getting is a example that probably works and needs a bath. So this was a fairly sizable auction. We've got 4 different amps, and I have no idea if any of them work. Other than the auctioneer said we turned it on and it turned on. Well, if the power light comes on, that really doesn't tell you much, but other than the fuse isn't blown. So this is a Vox Valvetronics AD50VT-XL. So we got 2 12-inch speakers and a bunch of different amp models and effects and stuff built into it. I have the master volume turned down to nothing right now. We're going to try turning it on, and okay, it turned on and it lit up. So we're probably off to an okay start. Okay, that's the bypass button for the effects. No sound yet, but I have the master down to 0. So okay, so yeah, we've got sound. This amp model is called Glass. Gain, volume, treble, middle, bass. Yeah, we're working pretty good so far. And then for effects, I don't know, this is called... Oh yeah, the effects are working. Yeah, so sound effects on whatever, it just tells me they're working. And then there's various amp models that should have different tones. And we're on a clean one. This one's named Glass. Yeah, some of these are loud, gainy, distortion-based sounds. So turn the volume down. So yes, all the different amp models that I roll through show it's working. So again, these are the kind of things I try to avoid showing on YouTube because they're boring. I got an amp that needs a bath at an auction, and yay. But we do have some more, so yay. Let's keep going. Okay, so we have something older. This is Crate CR112B. It's supposed to be a bass amp. So let's see, controls are gain, limiter, bass, and treble. And virtually everything was turned to 0, so let's turn bass and treble halfway. And I don't know if limiter should be off or whatever. It sounds like it's a compression circuit. Master's at 0, we'll put that at like 2. And we'll turn up some gain once we turn the switch on. So, let's see. Okay, yeah, there is. Okay, so this is one of them, like a Marshall, where the power thing seems backwards. The lower one is on, so okay. Let's see what we have here. I'm getting some sound out of it, but it doesn't seem particularly loud. And do you hear the humming noise? There's 120 hertz hum. I have the gain maxed out. I don't think there's enough gain, and I think there's some 120 hertz noise there. I'll just wiggle sticking that around seemed to make it louder, so I think we need some controls cleaned and maybe some filter caps. Okay, we can work with that. Okay, vintage fans. Kustom base Roman numeral 5 with a broken power light. And let's turn the volume down and put the bass in the treble in the middle, I guess. Okay. See if this wants to work. Well, the light works. Let's see if input 2 is, or input 1 is the hotter of the two. Input 1 is definitely the hotter of the two. Interesting, the bass knob is almost like a subtracting treble knob, but generally it appears that we want to work. I would have expected it to be a little louder, but again, this is, sometimes these bass amps are deceptive, and this lamp is kind of missing its shield, so I would like to have a cover on that. I don't know if I have one, or I'll just have to replace the light. Okay, and then fourth on the list is this Crate 1D. It has a distortion knob on the back. I don't know what's up with that. And there's also foot switch and line out on the back too. But this is like the OG Crate amp that looks like a Crate, because it is. And let's see, treble and bass, we'll just put them about in the middle. Gain is at nothing, and master, we'll give it a little go. Okay. There's on, and give it a little bit of gain. Okay, so the master volume was having some trouble. So there's controls are a problem here, because my noise, my signal coming through this is kind of intermittent. So we have some controls that definitely need some love. Let's see if input 2 is hotter or colder than input 1. Input 2 seems to be the colder input, but it's also the better behaved input. So maybe input 1 is just dirty. That's working much better now. So maybe this input 1 needs cleaning. Let's see what this distortion knob on the back does. Okay, it's a bonus gain knob, so it's like a secondary gain stage. So almost wants to work. The other Crate almost wants to work, kind of. The Kustom sort of works, and the Vox is fine because it's way younger and it's not broke. So we need to tear into a few of these and do a little maintenance. Hooray! Okay, so St. Louis Music gets a bonus point for making the amplifier easier to take apart. I put a light on it so you could see the innards a bit more. I just ran cleaner through the pots. Not exciting. Yeah, so cleaning the controls seems to have taken care of the low volume problem. I think we're fine. At this point, this one's just ready for a bath. Well, I've successfully cleaned all the dirt off of this thing, and we cleaned the switches, which seemed to take care of the signal thing. I didn't realize this is not just a speaker, but it's a Magnum projector. It's the Crate Magnum projector. It projects Magnums. It's not just a speaker. The things you learn. Cool. For a clean amp, I would suppose, like for a pedal amp or something, definitely fits the bill. Treble and bass work okay. This is a bright switch. It works too. And then let's try the distortion circuit. I heard that this is the best part of this amplifier. Lol. Alright, maximum distortion. Alright, here we go. Should probably turn down the master a little bit. Down the master and up the gain. Let's get some real rock and roll tone here. Too loud for a poor camera. Roll off some trouble. Well, it's a vintage historical crate model. And, well, as far as the clean solid state channel, I suppose it sounds okay, and I'm glad it's fixed. Hooray. Okay, so this bass amp gets some props for me. Easy to take apart too. 4 screws and the chassis drops out and the speaker unplugs, so yeah. The buzzing is probably those two 4700 microfarad 35 volts. I don't perchance to have those in axials, but I've got them at radial, so we can do some creative surgery. We'll make that work. Okay, so those two Illinois capacitors that were the main filters, 4700 microfarad 35 volt. I replaced them with 4700 microfarad 50 volt caps. I only had radial, so I did the make it fit trick. And now this one is performing okay, so I cleaned the cabinet and we're putting it back together. This is the bass amp. Okay, so this is Crate CR112B. This bass amp from 1981. Not bad for not really being for a 5-string. It doesn't do too bad reproducing the real bottom. Second one is victorious. My bass skills are lacking tonight. Alright, so we're inside the Kustom bass V amp here. Yeah, this is definitely old school. 70s RCA transistors. This is definitely very custom. This is how they look. Really cool looking speaker. I'll show you that in a minute. But this orange LED light is, or not LED, neon. This bulb here has a, the shield's missing off the front of it, and somebody could probably poke their finger in and zap themselves, and that's not good. The speaker for this looks pretty cool too. It's like a, I don't know what it is. Maybe it's an old Jensen or an old something. It's got a fairly small magnet. This is allegedly like 35 watts, but that's a cool looking speaker. Orange. Neat. I don't know. I mean, I wish I could find a code on that. Be kind of fun. Okay, so I changed the power light. It had a LED that probably had a cap on it, some sort. I don't know. I mean, that should have had a cap. Looks like it did. It broke off. But I replaced it with a 120 volt. It actually has a neon bulb in there. It has a red cap on it. It's an old vintage part from a Radio Shack, probably maybe in the 80s, that I got in a box of junk for free. And as you can see, it just solders to the 120 volt side there, right where the power comes in. So when you flip the switch, bammo, you got power to the light. We ain't doing no 6 volt. This thing isn't humming, and it's amplifying just fine. It's supposed to be about a 35 watt circuit. I think just looking at it, at some time or another, somebody was in here doing surgery, because those two diodes that are on the rectifier there, those look like those got changed topside, like the old diodes were clipped and replacements were put in. But as much as I'd like to put them through the board and make it super pretty, no, it's a vintage repair. We'll just leave it be. If it ain't broke, we're not going to fix it. Okay, so that orange speaker, turns out that it's a Utah. Yeah, and so we needed to change the power light on this and clean it. I mean, it's a practice amp. This is not a high volume amp, but it has a fine tone. It works okay. Oh yeah, Kustom base V or base 5 or whatever. That's fixed. And then this guy, I can't find anything wrong with it other than it needing a bath, so. Okay, so that was our auction. Hopefully you had some fun with me. Had some that needed a little fixing and some that didn't. Now we have to see, before we can determine if this was a good auction or a bad auction, we have to get this merchandise the heck out of my workshop. Then we'll know if it was a good auction or not. Peace.